I feel like the people, there's a lot of unity going on in Oak Cliff right now, and I think this is necessary. What's going on, and I love to see the people, our brown people, united the way they're coming out here and cruising and stuff like that. Especially shout out to all the lowriders out here, man. You know, coming and representing for the raza and stuff like that. And you know, this is Little Mexico, and it's always gonna be Little Mexico. And I always come here. I always come here. I go to Fiesta. I go to Gonzalez. I go eat at Gonzalez. You know what I'm saying? I go to the Texas Theater a lot with Pablo. We've been there a lot of times. I never left. I mean, you know, if I left, it's to make a record or to make a movie. But I never left my people, man, because I'm all about my raza. You know, and I'm always gonna be here. I'm always gonna be here, man. I'm the heart of the street, bro. I'm OCT, bro. I'm OCT, bro. I'm always gonna be here. So catch me right here, right here, right here. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? That's that Mexican right there, that Mexican. Mexicanos, toda la raza que habla español, toda la raza, saludos a todos. You know, we're one. Somos una raza rise. That's the new campaign, raza rise. Raza rise to the heavens, baby. You know, to the heavens, to the galactic bodies, man. We gonna come up.
What's next for the music?
Man, we just dropped the Cumbia album with rap in all Spanish. We dropped the La Santa Chingas all in Spanish. Got one called Street Power, all in English coming in. Right after this, we're still working. We're about to drop a video. You know, there's a lot more videos coming along. You know, we're working with Solid 8.
Rise up with Solid 8, baby.
Hell yeah. Working with Jupiter Year. Working with just working with a lot of creative people. Tank, working with Tank, Chico Style, working with man, we just working, bro. We just working. I got so many projects. I just want to tell the world. And that's the fact. That's my brotherhood right there. All right.
Microphone.
How you gonna fix it?
Hello, I'm loud.
You're loud.
Can you hear me?
Fix it, bro.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, you good like that.
All right.
Just chill like that. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name's Jorge Alberto Ruiz, and I'm from Oak Cliff, born and raised in Oak Cliff, and we never really talk about this guy. I'm gonna talk a lot about this guy too. I mean, we could do it right here on the table, bro. If you got any questions or whatever, maybe I could help me out with something or something that I think it's important or whatever, you know. All right, this Microphone Killer documentary, my side of the story. So I remember growing up on 8th Street, my name's Microphone Killer, Jorge Alberto Ruiz, born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and raised in Oak Cliff.
What up, it's your boy DJ Daniel Boom. I've been in the game since before 97, 98. But around that time is when I started with Kanoin 89.3 FM. And it's around the same time that Microphone Killer started in the game, or at least that's when I got introduced to him and Aztec Tribe as a whole. And we've been running and gunning ever since, man. It's been over 20 years. And, we're still cool. He's real people. I feel like there's very few real artists that have stuck in the game as long as he has. And he could probably say the same thing for me as far as a DJ. There's very few DJs that are still in the game that were back then, in the 90s, that are still doing it and are still relevant. And it's in our blood. That's what we do, and that's what we've always done.
And,
what do you think?
Remember when we had Aztec Tribe, and then we had a couple of tracks played on Kanoin.
Yeah, I remember back when Aztec Tribe was first starting out, and they brought me a CD and it had a little black and white, like looked like a little piece of paper that had the skull on there, Aztec Tribe, and we first heard it and it was like, man, this stuff is too crazy for the radio, and, and after a while, he came back, boy, hey, check out this track, check out this track, and finally, I can't remember the name of the song, which is the first one that we played, but we actually gave him a few spins because at that time, hip hop was so new, and KNON was about local artists at that time, and we shot a lot of local love, and it was the era of like freestyle music, booty music. We had Tejano music, and of course we had the brand new hip hop generation, which was, like the Lighter Shade Browns, the Kid Frost, and it was still the Run DMCs and all that, but as a station we were trying to be different, and we catered more to the Latino audience on our side, so it was it was just a fit that we brought in artists like Aztec Tribe.
It was
back then. Staying Aztec Tribe.
Then it was Latinos.
Yeah, Latinos was another one. They had that horn, right?
That blew up, Latinos.
Yeah.
Because it was everywhere.
That's the one that got him on. That was one of the first, like, I guess you could say, hit singles in Dallas, because that's the one that brought him a lot of shows.
No mames,
We need to wait.
Where's mom at when we need her?
And we're still here in Oak Cliff, as you could tell. You could hear the music in the background, rolling, corridos, bumping. That's the you could say that's the evolution of the Latinos here in the South, in Dallas, Texas. Went from I guess you could say we probably started off as, I guess the generation that was here was more, I guess Chicano, Tejano, because most of them were rapping in English, and that's where we kind of had to gear some of the artists, because they were trying to be like Run DMC, or they wanted to be like nowadays like Lil Wayne or 50 Cent or Future, and they gotta sometimes people gotta realize that we don't need to cross over into somebody else's culture. It is part of our culture, but we don't live the same way that they live. You can't say, that you grew up on, whatever, pig feet and ham hocks, because, it was rice and beans where we're from, you know what I mean? So it's good to evolve like all of that into your music. And that's one of the things, Aztec Tribe, especially Microphone Killer, when he started switching it up and rapping a lot in Spanish. And of course he had the song Latino since back then, so he's always incorporated being real, just being him. If the music was real violent and they had songs called like Fuck the Government, that was them. That was Aztec Tribe. They were being real. They weren't trying to be somebody else. They were trying to represent where they were from. They were from Oak Cliff, Texas. Oak Cliff was hood back then. There was, drive-bys at the schools, at the elementaries, at the high schools, and that was just a product of our environment. And it would be disjustice not to involve that in our music and the way we live, because years from now, like if you listen back to the music, that's like a timeline, that's history recorded in a song, because every song pretty much tells a story. And Microphone Killer and the Aztec Tribe back then were some of the best at telling stories of our people, our culture, and our history that we had here in Dallas, as opposed to some of the Latino rappers in LA. They rapped a little bit different. There were a lot of them rapped over oldies, or you had like Kid Frost. All that culture that they've had for years was brand new to us over here, because I guess you could say we're probably a younger generation of Chicanos, of Tejanos in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, in the Oak Cliff area where we grew up. So it was only relevant that our music was different, because it really was a product of our environment.
What did you most remember about Adolfo Ruiz, Killerman, my brother, Killerman?
He was, part of the group, and I always ran into you guys everywhere because I was, I was in Oak Cliff. They were in Oak Cliff, and I mean, it was the hood. And during that era, I'm a DJ, so I make mixtapes. They're rappers, so they're making mixtapes of their music. So we're all in the same in the same boat. We're running to each other at top 10 at rhythm tracks. Could have been like one stop dropping off CDs and tapes. And then when we really started hustling was when we hit Traders Village. And man, we're there like every weekend. I mean, I would show up with like 800 CDs, and I'll be making my rounds selling CDs to everybody. And I would always run into to the guys, and they're always hustling their tapes, and making a living at it. I mean, there's not very many artists in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that have done that. I mean, there are a few. There's some like Too Cold, and of course, the Aztec, and there was a few more out there that would go out there and hustle, but a lot of them, they don't do it anymore. But I know Aztec Tribe is still probably on top of his game. Microphone Killer, and of course Killer Man, and I mean, if you see the product of his environment where he grew up in Oak Cliff, and all the violence that was going on as he grew up, I mean, you could feel that in his music, And then when he lost his brother, you gotta think about one thing. I mean, it's expected for him to feel the way he feels about the government because his brother was, in custody of the government when he passed, and it wasn't due to another inmate or anything. It was just the government dropping the ball and not taking care of their business, and that's another thing. Like, I mean, you could just feel in his music, and you realize that, man, he lost his brother to the system, and he was gone too soon. I mean, he had a family, and I remember reaching out to them when he passed, and it was just something that we couldn't believe because we would always, every Saturday, Sunday we would see him at Traders Village, hustling tapes, and he was out there making money, and he was a man that was never scared of anything. He'll come confront you or get in your face, or he'll tell you, hey, buy this music. You support real music. You support Latino music. This is what we got. Buy a tape, and that's he made a living off of doing that, and that's what he did. But and then again, like I said, when he passed away, I know it took a toll on Microphone Killer, and you've seen it in his songs. And matter of fact, I know he wrote a song for him, and we actually, I mean, we played it on KNON, or I played it on KNON, for at least a year or two, after he passed, because I mean, he was just that, it was a good song, it was a heartfelt song, and he put a lot of his heart and soul into that song, and I felt that it was a good way to honor his brother and the legacy that he left.
Thank you, man. Thank you for playing the songs and always guiding us in the right direction. You were a big part of my music evolving. I remember after that, a couple of years passed, I remember that I brought you something. And you're like, what the fuck? Remember, and there was a Traffic.
Yeah.
The Traffic song. He's like, I don't know what he thought of it, because he just gave me a crazy look. We played it in your car, remember?
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, hey man, I want to promote this. And it was like we're mixing in corridos.
Yeah.
We were doing what nobody was doing. I would always go to Mexico all the time. My roots run deep in Guadalajara, because I'm always in Guadalajara and Jalisco. And I remember always, every time that I go out over there, man, we always get un grupo, or they have a banda, and it's puros corridos. We jam puros corridos, or corridos sereños, pero corridos con banda. And they just tell the truth about, about the narcos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I was drinking, I was in Mexico, and I was like, man, I'm gonna write some shit. I'm gonna go back. I was in Mexico, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna write some shit. And I said, man, I'm gonna do a song called Traffic. And I remember showing it to you, and the next thing you know, I was like, he's playing it. He's playing it. I was like, oh shit.
On the
man,
radio,
I was rolling, man. New song by Microphone Killers called Traffic. He played it, just boom.
And and that's one of those songs like I've I've played a lot of people's music on KNON over the years, and that's one thing I've always stressed. Like, you know, I don't want to sound, like racial, but, black people, the African American people that rap, they rap about their trap houses, their, whatever, cooking in the pot or whatever. I mean, we've done all that too, but they got to realize, like, well, we need to incorporate.
They get it from us.
Yeah, they get it from us. We're the ones that cross it over the border.
And we sell it to them. Too.
It could be, like they're bringing it over in a backpack to 18-wheelers to everything. All that came from Mexico. I mean, that was
Mexicans. Y'all the bosses.
Yeah,
They're the workers.
That's why I try to tell somebody. I was like, rap about our people. Like, you don't have to have. It doesn't have to be the same as theirs, because our situation is different. We're the ones that, like you said, they brought it over. The people have died on the frontera or crossing it over or getting caught by the cops.
Shit, we the reason why weed is legal. they were like, man, these Mexicans are making too much money. The government got to get a piece. Make that shit legal.
I mean, that's different. Yeah, that's what happened with that being legal and a lot of different drugs. They do that, but it took a long time because, people in the government, they get bought off and they get paid. So if they shut off the incoming traffic, then they're shutting off a lot of the payments under the table that they get. And that's just the truth of the game. But that's why I try to tell, like, as far as that's one thing that draws me to Microphone Killer's music, because he's always rapped about being Latino or who he is. He's not afraid to say, I'm from Mexico, or I go to Mexico, or anything about, like you said, like in all his songs. So that's one, and he's been a successful person. I try to tell some of these other artists, like Microphone Killer makes a living off of music. He travels all over the United States and Mexico, and he probably even been outside of other countries, but very few artists in the Dallas-Fort Worth area can say they've done what this man's done, from movies, videos, to concerts, like I said, all over the United States and the world. And he stays humble. He's from Oak Cliff. You'll catch him in Oak Cliff if he's in Dallas. If he's in town, he's in Oak Cliff.
Catch me at Walmart.
Yeah, he'll still be here hustling CDs and working with everybody. Yeah,
and I think the whole. I remember. I remember. I'm gonna go back to traffic, man, because I was like, man, I gotta say something. Man, because exactly, right now what you just said, you just told the truth. You're like, I was like, we bring it over. Why the fuck we the bosses? Exactly what you said. They talk about, because it's totally different cultures. Now, we're not putting any culture down. We're not doing anything. We're just telling the truth. But I was so proud, man. I think one of the most proudest things, I was proud when Latinos played, man, because that's something that you have to understand. You think in your head, you're like, hey, man, I want to see somebody like me. Somebody like me. People don't want to admit it. A lot of us Latinos sometimes don't want it, but we're looking for people to look up to heroes, to people,
Oh, yeah.
And there wasn't any. There wasn't a lot. There was a couple of influences like Kid Frost. I remember This Is For La Raza, and I was like, damn, that shit's fucking badass. But we weren't like educated like Chicano and all the stuff. So that's the reason why I went with Aztec Tribe, because I love my culture, I love my people. And I started reading a lot about Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, and there's a lot of knowledge that they brought along, man. And when I heard Latinos, I was like, hell yeah. And when I heard Traffic, I was like, fuck yeah. You understand? Latinos was like, this is me, but Traffic was like, motherfucker, this is how Texas gets down to me. But nobody's saying it. It was like, I think you said it one time. It was hidden. It was under, like, everything that song was saying. It was like nobody was gonna say it. Nobody was gonna say it because it was a lot. It was a lot of shit. It was a lot of shit. So I mean, even about saying, I mean, I'm gonna say I don't give a fuck, because we go cartels versus the Illuminati, and I remember I gave it to you one time, and I thought, no, it's okay, and then the next time I heard it cut off.
Yeah, now there was some stuff on there. I mean, you can't say, but you know, back to what he was saying. Like when Aztec Trap first started, Dallas is a city that's behind. You know, it's like if you go to California, or you go to
New York, Chicago.
New York. I wouldn't say New York because that's more Puerto Rican and Dominican. But if you go to Arizona, okay, there's libraries. There's in LA, there's colleges, Latino studies, Chicano studies. And Dallas, there's nothing. There's nothing. And we like that. We like that history, that pride of being who we are for ourselves. So when we were young, in those days, like being Chicano, we were ashamed to be Mexican. And to be honest, in those days, Chicanos and Mexicanos used to fight each other.
Fight. And that's a great point that you brought, man, because it was, my parents were Mexican.
Yeah.
And my dad used to hate Chicanos.
Yeah.
And we were born here. So I'm gonna tell a quick